Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the liberal loudmouth. So this video is going to be quick. I'm just going to explain to you what happened today in the Oregon State Supreme Court, because if you were watching Fox News, you would think that the court was just Democrat run and it was withholding from the ballot all these Republicans and just being meanie heads. But that's not actually what happened, okay? So back in 2022, the state of Oregon got sick and tired of Republicans just not showing up in order to prevent anybody from taking a vote, right? So they would have enough Republicans that would leave so that they couldn't vote on anything, and thus gridlocking or getting the bill to die because of the time frames that are attached to these things. So that's what they were doing in order to try and manipulate, even though I believe at that time they were in the minority. Well, they did this since, I think, 2019. Every year they were doing this regarding something. Well, they passed this in 2022 as a ballot measure on the ballot to amend Article 4 of their state's constitution to say if you don't show up to work for more than 10 days, you can't run for office again. And it passed. Matter of fact, it passed quite overwhelmingly. So now, if you don't show up to work for over 10 days, well, you don't get to run for office. And I have to say, I agree. It's stupid. It's petty. If you can't figure it out using politics and science of politics and other measures to sit there and use your vote to stop something or to make a statement about something, if you can't do that, don't throw petty tantrums and say, oh, we're just going to take our ball and we're just going to go home. Now you can't play because you don't have another team. It's bullshit. It's bullshit when Democrats do it. It's bullshit when Republicans do it. In this case, Republicans kept doing it. So then fast forward to 2023, Republicans had this trans bill, whatever. There's several things, and they were gone for like 6 weeks. They left and just wouldn't even come into session for 6 weeks, which stalled the government completely. Well, the Secretary of State in Oregon said, you can't do that. They just passed an amendment to our Constitution that says if you don't show up for work for 10 days without an excuse, then you can't run next year. So sorry about you. You're gone. Well, then the argument became, yeah, but the ballot measure doesn't say that we can't do it now. That doesn't come into effect until later, right? Because the wording of it was a little poor. I'll be honest with you there. That's where the state Supreme Court came in. Let's take a look at that real quick. So right here you can see failure to attend without permission or excuse 10 or more legislative floor sessions called to transact business during a regular or special legislative session shall be deemed disorderly behavior and shall disqualify the member from holding office as a senator or representative for the term following the election after the member's current term is completed. Now, that word salad is what caused this to come to the state Supreme Court as it did. Now, this was going to happen at some point. Nobody's arguing that point. But what they're saying is, no, it doesn't happen this time. It wouldn't happen until the next time, was their argument. The Secretary of State said, no, it happens now. That's what they were passing. The Supreme Court agreed, the state Supreme Court. Now, let's go and take a look at what they're saying on the other side, the Republicans. Let's look and see what they're saying here. We obviously disagree with the Supreme Court's ruling, but more importantly, we are deeply disturbed by the chilling impact this decision will have to crush dissent. Well, you can dissent and vote no. That's why you have the ability to vote. And if you're in the minority, well, find another way. You give a little, you get a little. You make concessions. You don't try to force and bully your way into doing these things and saying, well, if I don't get my way, then f you, and we're shutting the whole thing down. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. I'm disappointed, but can't say I'm surprised that a court of judges appointed solely by Governor Kate Brown and Governor Tina Kotek would rule in favor of political rhetoric rather than their own precedent. Well, actually, there is precedent in how the Supreme Court ruled. Every legal mind I've heard from, regardless of political leanings, has affirmed that when there's only one interpretation for the plain language of the law, that is final. The language incorporated into the Oregon Constitution was clear, and yet the Supreme Court ruled that voter intent, which cannot be determined by any metric, supersedes the Constitution. There is no justice in a political court. Bullshit. The meaning and the spirit of what they were passing and voting for is absolutely important. What are they talking about? Yeah, here, the amendment says a lawmaker is not allowed to run for the term following the election after the member's current term is completed. The senators claimed the amendment meant they could seek another term since a senator's term ends in January while elections are held the previous November. They argued the penalty doesn't take effect immediately, but rather after they served another term. Now, let's think about that logically. For like 4 years, Republicans kept doing this over and over and over and over again. So they pass a ballot measure. They brought in pamphlets that said what the bill was going to do. The title of the bill itself and the way it was presented made it very clear that if you did this, you wouldn't get to run the next time you were supposed to run. So what was sold to them on this measure was absolutely what they thought they were voting for was this, what the Supreme Court just ruled. Well, you can't do anything about the literal language of the law. That's bullshit. There is absolute precedent that is set that says the intent of the law, the spirit of the law, is a vital part of the law. I mean, this isn't new stuff, but, they have to complain and whine about it. But think about that for a second. Republicans keep doing this, and they're like, you know what? If you miss 10 absences, then you can stay the next term, but then you can't stay the next term. Does that make any sense to anybody with half a fucking brain in their head? Of course it doesn't. You know that's what they thought they were voting for. Most people can't read this legalese, and they probably looked at it and they thought, oh, God, they always have to put it in this weird language that I don't understand. Well, it says that if you don't show up to work, then you're going to get fired, or at least you're not rehirable, right? That's what they thought they were voting for, and these assholes are upset because they thought they were going to be cute and just keep that ball rolling where I don't like what you did, so I'm just going to take my ball and go home, and I'm not going to play with you anymore. They thought that was cute, and, they fucked around, and now they're in the middle of the find out stage. That's all this is. So people out there that are saying this is anti-democratic, bullshit, because even the Republicans that are upset by this, they knew that regardless of whether it happened now or whether it happened later, they knew that it was going to happen. It was passed in 2022. They did this in 2023, the 6-week thing. There's no ex post facto. They knew that the law existed, and now karma going to bite them in the ass, and they can't run again. Oh, boo. So that's the truth behind what happened in Oregon. This was a vote by the people that said, y'all need to stop doing this. We're sick of it. So then finally they were like, you know what, to hell with this. We're going to pass a rule that says you can't do this anymore. And if you do, you're going to be punished by not being able to run again. And they were like, no, we don't care. You're stupid. What are you going to do? Well, this is what they did. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like and subscribe to get that algorithm going, and I'll keep bringing you interesting content as I see it. All right, we'll catch you all next time. This is the Liberal Loudmouth. Peace.